WEFM 99.9. It's 60 minutes after the hour of 12 p.m. At this time, we have our Midday news sponsored by Courts St. Vincent Limited.
Good afternoon. I'm Nerissa Sandy with WEFM's 12:15 Midday newscast, coming to you with the kind compliments of Courts.
Find the season's best deals at Courts. Shop today for up to 50% off on your favorite items like the Sony 50-inch 4K Smart TV. It's now just $3,799. Save $1,800. The Ashley Callion Love Seat is now only $2,299. Save $700. Save $600 off the Whirlpool 9 cubic foot refrigerator. Now $1,999. And get this Technical Pro rechargeable speaker, now only $849. With Ready Finance, shop today with no cash and get 90 days for your first payment. It's the season's best deals, only at Courts. Courts, bringing value home.
Welcome back. In the news, Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, said he met on Tuesday of this week with the leadership of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force to discuss the crime situation in the country. Dr. Gonsalves made the announcement while speaking on NBC Radio. He said the police is not culpable for the homicides, but noted that their work can aid in combating and solving crimes.
The police are not responsible for the homicides, but their work can aid in the detection and the gathering of the evidence and certainly deterring people. After the night killing which took place for the young man child in Falls area, I decided to go about several different places there because I wanted to make observations for myself about certain matters. Mainly for me to see the extent of the police presence at different places and the extent of the patrols, because in addition to getting reports about them, I wanted to see myself. I briefed the Deputy Prime Minister also.
That was Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves speaking on NBC Radio. In other news, Jeffrey Alexander, a 39-year-old Vincentian national, was arrested and formally charged for unlawful possession of firearm and ammunition in St. Lucia. According to St. Lucia Times, Alexander's arrest came after officers attached to the Special Services Unit South and the Police Marine Unit conducted an operation at the Vieux-Fort Seaport on Saturday, December 24 at around 8:25 in the evening. During the operation, a 9mm pistol and 12 rounds of ammunition were recovered. The report says he was escorted before the 2nd District Court, where he was remanded in custody until January 12, 2023. With less than 48 hours to go before the year 2022 comes to a close, Vincentians are being called upon to, quote, leave the mistakes and failures of 2022 behind. The call was made by senior pastor of the Kingstown Baptist Church, Reverend Dr. Cecil Richards, while speaking on Boom 106.9 FM's OMG morning program this week. Dr. Richards' comment comes as he identified several New Year resolutions the nation should consider improving on.
Consumerism was number one. Mediocrity was number two. Pushing for excellence, now not be mediocre, that would do average. The entitlement mentality was number three. Yeah, nobody owes you anything. Coupled with that, I talked about the dependency mindset. Go out and work for yourself. Get it done. Don't depend on handouts and all of that. Don't depend on government for everything. Dishonesty, especially with respect to our work ethic. I think I really, the two things that I zeroed in on there, work ethic and giving back to the government and the country what was due in an honest fashion, especially when it came to taxes and duties and all of that, your NIS payments and all of that. It's just don't rob the system, don't rob the country. Lawyers and all, be honest. If somebody gives you money, all right, to do a particular, do your homework and put in the effort. And don't just take the $2,000, $3,000 and then do a rubber stamp something and write up something and something and send it. Come on, man.
The pastor also reiterated the importance of generosity and thoughtfulness within the community, noting that the nation will not thrive if it is disjoined.
Selfishness, think not just your own good as an individual, but the good of the country. Don't be all about self. I think in relation to this, I talk about the vendors, all right? Also about what impacts the nation. So we ought to stop thinking only about self and think of others. And I think the last one that I said that we needed to tweak was the matter of divisiveness. That we need to work at being more united as a country, stop chopping down other people, even when they're not on the same page like us, and stop dissing them and stop assassinating their characters and their fortunes and their future. Stop it. We can't move forward with strength if we are divided.
That was Senior Pastor of the Kingstown Baptist Church, Dr. Reverend Cecil Richards, speaking on Boom 106.9 FM's OMG Morning Program. The duty-free concession on barrels for 2022 has been extended to January 15, 2023. Making the announcement was Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves during a telephone call to WEFM's news department this morning. The duty-free concessions on Christmas barrels commenced on Monday, November 14, 2022. During this period, households in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are allowed to import a maximum of 3 pieces at a reduced rate. All additional pieces will be charged at the regular fee. Dr. Gonsalves did say this morning that the reason behind the extension is due to the late arrivals of vessels to our shores. The stage is set for the highly anticipated Steel Expressions, which is expected to be held tonight at the Honorsville playing field. Speaking on WEFM's Issues at Hand on Christmas Day, executive producer for the event, Rodney Small, said that this year marks 11 years since the event has been held. He said tonight's acts will be synonymous with the theme The Kingdom, as some of the artists headlined to perform include Anthony Papadas Glasgow, Dr. Alston Beckett Cyrus, and gospel artist Bridget Blucher. Steel Expressions, The Kingdom, is slated to begin at 8. In the region, new licensing discs are being issued to vehicle owners in Grenada starting next week. The new licensing discs will be done in St. Davis, St. Andrew, St. John, and St. George. We hear more in this report from GBN News out of Grenada.
From the first week of January 2023, motor vehicle owners will have a new licensing decal or disc attached to their vehicles. Sergeant Edward Abraham, officer in charge of the licensing department within Inland Revenue, says the new system has been tested and is up and ready for implementation. The officer explains the adjustments.
All right, in 2023, the RGPF will be rolling out a new license decal, which we call the disc or the sticker on the windscreen. For over the years, we have been using what we know on the screen right now as a disc, and where we have to punch it and mark on it and everything like that. That will be a thing of the past. In the new disc or decal that we'll be having, it will be done electronically. But we are hoping that we start on the 3rd of January and everything will be just rolling out fine.
That report from GBN News out of Grenada. Still in the region, in Antigua, the ruling Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party candidates for all 16 electoral districts in Antigua and the one in Barbuda. Antigua observers said the United Progressive Party and the recently established Democratic National Alliance have submitted candidates for the 16 seats in Antigua. The Barbados People's Movement has only submitted one candidate. 3 independent candidates will also contest the election. There was some controversy over the ABLP's nomination for Radon Turner for the St. Peter, which is held by independent candidate and former party member Asot Michael. A recent court ruling found that ABLP tribunals, which were formed to discipline Michael, breached provisions for the party's constitution. In a statement, Michael said he intends to return to the courts for the matter to be addressed. On the international scene, former U.S. President Donald Trump's tax returns have been released, ending a bitter 6-year-long battle to gain greater insights into his finances. The BBC says the returns stretch from 2015 through 2020, covering Trump's candidacy and time in the White House. The report says to give details of various entities through which he would have paid tax, including holdings companies and personal income. The BBC says it is reviewing the documents. Responding to Friday's release of hundreds of pages of tax returns, Trump's camp warned that the disclosure will lead to the U.S. political divide becoming, quote, far worse, unquote. They said that ever since his entry into politics, critics have been keen to get Trump, whose foundational pitch to voters had been that his business success made him the best choice to run the country, to show what his wealth actually looked like. He had steadfastly refused. And in sports, Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro has declared 3 days of national mourning following the death of Brazilian football legend Pelé, arguably the greatest player ever, who died at the age of 82. The demise of the legend, who is widely acknowledged as the greatest player in the history of football, triggered a wave of tributes from the sports world, including reactions from soccer stars like Argentina's soccer star Lionel Messi, Brazil's football star Neymar, France's Kylian Mbappe, and Portugal's Cristiano Ronaldo, who called Pelé an inspiration to millions. We hear more in this report from BBC Sports.
If football is the world's game, then Pelé was the world's greatest. For most fans, that's a statement of fact. Well over 1,000 goals, a career of over 20 years, 3 times a World Cup winner. Brazilian football, synonymous with flair and success, was built on Pelé. In 1958, Pelé took part in his first World Cup tournament, aged just 17. He scored 6 goals in 4 matches, playing himself to the point of exhaustion. When Brazil beat Sweden in the final, one opponent said when he watched Pelé, he felt like applauding. Injury limited his role in the 1962 World Cup. In 1966, well, opposing teams knew they had to stop Pelé one way or another. 4 years later, in 1970 in Mexico, Pelé was part of a Brazilian team widely regarded as the best set of players ever. They won the World Cup with the freedom of expression and fluency never seen before. It was Pelé's last World Cup. Without him, Brazil waited another 24 years before winning the trophy again. Pelé remained in demand. After all, he was one of the most famous names and faces in the world. He spent 18 years with one club, Santos, averaging nearly a goal a game. By 1975, he was in the United States, the ultimate acquisition for a new league hungry for glamour. The league didn't last, but Pelé still thrilled New York. The popularity of football, the very idea of what makes it entertaining, began more than any other man.
That report there from BBC Sports. And this brings us to the end of WEFM's midday newscast, local, regional, and international, and sports. We'll take a look at the major news stories making headlines. On the local scene, Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves discusses crime situation in SPG with leadership of the police force. Duty-free concession on Christmas barrels extended until January 15. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves today. Vincentian charged in St. Lucia with possession of illegal gun and ammunition. And the stage is set for the highly anticipated Steel Expression slated for today at the Arnisvale playing field. In the region, new licensing discs being issued to vehicle owners in Grenada starting next week. 53 candidates approved to compete in Antigua's January 18 election. On the international scene, tax returns for former U.S. president released after 6 years. And in sports, Brazil's president declares 3 days of national mourning following the passing of football legend Pelé. This brings us to the end of WEFM's midday newscast for 2022. Do join us again next week, Tuesday. It will be at 12:15 for another midday newscast. Our next newscast will come in at 3 o'clock with Jessica Klein. I'm your presenter, Nerissa Sandy. Thank you for listening.
the season's best deals at Courts. Shop today for up to 50% off on your favorite items like the Sony 50-inch 4K Smart TV. It's now just $3,799. Save $1,800. The Ashley Calion Love Seat is now only $2,299. Save $700. Save $600 off the Whirlpool 9 cubic foot refrigerator. Now $1,999. And get this Technical Pro rechargeable speaker, now only $849. With Ready Finance, shop today with no cash and get 90 days for your first payment.